Another day, another makeup launch, and this week's video is all about ColourPop's newest So Elemental palette launch. This is a 9-pan palette inspired by what looks like the element of water, and when we open up this palette, we get to see an array of 9 shades. It's the ColourPop formula we all know and love that include denim blues and serene sparkling silvers. Perfect for all your Y2K or chrome core looks. Not only is it launching on ColourPop.com, but it will also be found in Ulta beauty stores and online. You know we gotta do a tutorial using this palette, so let's jump right into it. The first shade I'm going to be taking is the shade Calm Down, which is a matte denim blue shade, and I'm applying this with a dense fluffy brush and just putting that in the inner part of my eye, just above the crease. I'm gonna use the same brush, but I cleaned it off a little bit, and I'm gonna dip into the shade All Vibes, which is a mid-tone, cool tone gray, and I'm gonna blend out from where I stopped with the last shade, going up towards the end of my eyebrow, and just really blend these two together. Y'all know the drill, it's a pack and then blend. We repeated our steps, we took face powder and blended out the top for a more seamless blend. Now we're gonna tap into the shade Sia, which is a matte blackened blue shade, using also kind of a dense brush but more straight rather than fluffed out. And I'm gonna start to make a very soft wing with it, starting from my outer corner, going towards the end of my brow bone. I went ahead and grabbed a small sharp angled brush just because I felt like my wing wasn't being exactly where I want it. You know, us eyeliner girls, we're very particular. Now I'm just gonna be taking my middle finger, dipping into the shade 2000s, which is a metallic soft silvery blue. I think this is such a pretty shade. I'm just gonna swipe that on what I have left on my lid and fill in the blank. I'm also gonna take out of the blue, which is a metallic rich blue, with my pinky, and I'm gonna start to put that just above the wing so it blends into the main shimmer shade. And for a little extra glitter, I'm taking the shade Malibu Waves, which is the only pearlescent glitter in this palette, and I'm just gonna put this right in the middle just for a little more sparkle in the middle of my eye. Now there are some products that ColourPop is supporting with this palette, one of them being the shadow sticks in the shade Cold Girl. So I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna clean up a little bit of my work. I'm gonna put a little bit on the top of my brow bone, like as a highlight, blend it out with my finger, and I'm gonna put a little in my inner corner as well. And I'm gonna take the shade Angel Light, which is a white opal shade with a blue duochrome finish, and I'm gonna put that right over where I laid down the shadow sticks. Hands down, Angel Light is my favorite shade. I thought it was gonna be 2000s, but it's definitely Angel Light. Perfect opal duochrome shift. The only shades that we did not use in this look were the shades In the Zen and Stay Low Key. In the Zen is a shimmer shade, it's a true silver, and Stay Low Key is a soft gray with silver pinpoints in it. Popped on mascara and a lip, and this is the final look using the So Elemental palette from ColourPop. My initial thoughts were that I am really happy that this palette came out, because before this palette came out, the only matte denim-ish blue that I could find was in my Avatar The Last Airbender palette from them, and it was only one shade. So it's nice to see more of those blues and silvers come to life in this palette. One of my qualms with this palette would be that I wish there was a gray in between this shade All Vibes and this shade Sia. Like if All Vibes was just a smidge darker, just a smidge, I could have had a little more dimension with this outer part, like right above my crease, the second shade that I laid down. Just feel like it gets a little bit lost in the look, but I still like the look overall. This palette is getting compared to other ColourPop palettes as well. Palettes like Blue Velvet, On Cloud Blue, Cloud 9, and the Twilight palette. Starting off with the Blue Velvet palette, this is also a 9-pan. It is on ColourPop's website as well as Target. It has a true blue, and it has true navy blues and true baby blues. But if you're someone that really only wants your baby blues, then On Cloud Blue is the girl you want. All 9 shades in this palette are pastel baby blues. Now with the more newer launches, we have Twilight and Cloud9. A lot of people were saying that So Elemental reminded them of Cloud9, and I just want to set the record straight. I don't agree with that. I think these palettes pair well together. This is Cloud9. It came out in October, and yes, there's about like 2-3 blue shades in here, but it's really your neutral, cool tone dream. So when we pair So Elemental next to it, honestly, if you buy both of these palettes, it's like you're getting one big palette because it works really well together. But as you can see by the side-by-side, this has a lot more blues and this leans a lot more neutral. I do see similarities between like the grays. Like for example, this one in the top middle is very similar to this one right here. They're both grays with silver pinpoints in them. Droplets over here is pretty similar to in the Zen. It just skews a little darker. Do I think you need both? If you lean more neutral, grab Cloud9. If you lean more blues, grab So Elemental. But if you love makeup and want to pair them together, I think they're great pairs together. Now to talk about the Twilight palette. I think we all know that the Twilight palette has more greens in it and also a few neutrals. The So Elemental palette compared to the Twilight palette definitely is more muted compared to the blues and the silvers in the Twilight palette. I don't necessarily know if I would use these together, but I see where they're coming from when I saw a comment that said, oh, So Elemental is just using all the blues left over from the Twilight palette. And so what if they are? Like, we can't invent new colors, people. These colors just worked well over here and these colors just worked well over here. I'm a sucker for the details. I like having both. Now to rewind a bit further to a launch I really liked in 2023 was when ColourPop released their Lavish palette. Oh my god, y'all. Am I a sucker for purple? If you know, you know. Lavish is like a muted purple girl's dream. Like, I love this palette. I think this is my most used palette that doesn't have neutrals in it. I take this with me on vacation. That's how serious it is. But the So Elemental launch reminded me a lot of the Lavish palette because it's like these are your muted purples and these are your muted blues. And I think that if you like color, but if you don't like the bright look, overly saturated vibe, these are your jam. Like if you're wanting to dip your toes into color, but you're not quite sure how to go about it, try like a muted color palette, like these two palettes. I think I'm gonna use So Elemental almost just as much as I love using the Lavish palette. I wish this was going into Ulta stores because it's one of my favorites, but Pinterest predicted that denim blues are going to be a huge trend this year, so Elemental for the win. Definitely think these two color stories are super fun, even if they're not the brightest ones in the world. You can purchase this lovely palette on ColourPop's website, or you can find it at your local Ulta Beauty on March 31st for $14. I think it's the perfect palette if you're trying to get into color more, if you're wanting to start a new Y2K girl group, if you're wanting to unleash your inner mermaid, or if you just love makeup. That's all from me, y'all. I'll see you later.